Marty Miller dreamed of becoming a basketball legend. Unfortunately, basketball had other plans. He wasn't tall, he wasn't fast, and his vertical jump was so low that even gravity felt sorry for him. While other guys were practicing slam dunks, Marty was practicing picking up the ball after completely missing the hoop. His first coach didn't say, "You need more practice." He said, "Son, have you ever thought about a career in accounting?" Marty made so many air balls that people started to think it was a strategy. He tripped over invisible lines. Once, he passed the ball to the referee and apologized. But here's the strange thing. Marty never gave up. Not when people laughed at him. Not when he sat on the bench for entire seasons. Not even when his own teammates forgot he was even on the roster. Because this, not a story about a basketball star. This is a story about the worst player on the court, who somehow became the heart of the game. Chapter 1. The Worst Guy on the Court. Marty Miller fell in love with basketball the way most kids do, by watching someone else do it well. It was Saturday. The TV was playing too loud. The couch was too old. And Marty was absolutely certain that everything he saw looked easy. "See," he said to his dad, "I can do that too." Dad didn't answer. Not because he disagreed, but because he was laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. At school, Marty announced his future career to anyone who would listen. "I'm going to be a basketball player." The children nodded politely. Then they watched Marty try to run. Running was more of an idea than a skill for Marty. However, confidence was not his problem. Reality was. When the team tryouts were announced, Marty arrived early. Very early. So early that the janitor asked if he was lost. "No, sir," Marty replied proudly. "I'm here to dominate." The janitor looked at him the way people look at people who eat soup with a fork. The gym was noisy. Sneakers squeaked. Balls bounced. Hope hung in the air. And then Marty touched the ball. His first dribble hit his leg. The second hit his knee. The third hit a child who had nothing to do with basketball. The coach blew his whistle. "Relax, kid," said the coach. "Just shoot." Marty nodded. He lined up. He concentrated. He released the ball. The ball missed the hoop so badly that the net felt personally offended. Someone in the stands whispered, "Was that a pass?" On the third miss, it happened. Someone shouted, "Air ball!" On the fifth, "Air ball, Marty!" By the end of the screening, he didn't even need to throw it. People shouted it in advance. "Air ball, Marty! Air ball, Marty!" Marty smiled. He waved his hand. He thought they were applauding him. After watching, the coach called him over. Here it comes. The moment had arrived. The coach looked at his tablet, then at Marty, then back at the tablet, as if hoping the paper would change its mind. "Son," the coach said cautiously, "what do you think your strengths are?" Marty answered instantly. "Heart, hard work, passion." The coach nodded slowly. "Yes, those are words." And then there was a pause. The kind of pause that ends dreams. "Listen," said the coach, "maybe basketball isn't your thing." Marty nodded. "Okay." The coach blinked. "You're not upset?" "No," Marty replied. "I'll just train harder." The coach looked at him as if he had just seen someone who had voluntarily signed up for extra homework. That evening, Marty went to the neighborhood playground. No spectators, no coach. Just one hoop and one overly optimistic teenager. He missed. He missed again. He missed so many times that even the moon began to judge him. But something strange happened. Each miss hurt less than the thought of giving up. So Marty stayed. He stayed until his arms hurt, until the lights turned off automatically, until the security guard asked if he lived there. "I'm working on my throw," Marty said. The guard looked at the ring, then at Marty. "Son, work on your landing first." The next day at school, Marty wasn't on the team roster, but he came to practice anyway. He sat on the bench. He clapped the loudest. He knew everyone's statistics, except his own, because he didn't have any. People laughed. Marty smiled, because while everyone else was already playing, Marty was just getting started. Chapter 2. Practice makes weird, as he decided it was temporary. Very temporary. For a few years. Marty did what all great athletes do when faced with defeat. He made a plan. The plan was simple. The plan was naive. The plan was completely detached from reality. Train harder than anyone else. Marty didn't have a coach. She didn't have a team. He didn't even have a proper ball. But he had imagination. He started training everywhere. In the yard, in the garage, in the room, where his mother clearly said, "Just not with the ball." Marty heard, "Be careful." One day, Marty decided that the hoop was a restriction. "If I can throw the ball into the washing machine," he thought, "the hoop will be easy." The washing machine disagreed. The ball got stuck. The washing machine stopped. Mom stopped too. "Marty," she said quietly, "why do we have a basketball in the drum?" "It's for accuracy," he replied. "Accuracy of what?" "My future." Mom slowly closed the door. Slowly. Very slowly. Marty covered his room with motivational posters. He didn't look for them on the internet. He wrote them himself. One of them said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and also many of the ones you do." The second one, "Pain is temporary. Embarrassment lasts forever." The third one my mom tore off. Since there were no people in Marty, he started training with his dog. The dog's name was Bruno. Bruno didn't understand basketball, but Bruno was honest. When Marty shot, Bruno looked the other way. When Marty missed, Bruno sighed. When Marty fell, Bruno went to eat. "That's harsh," Marty said. "But it's fair." Marty trained at night, not because he wanted to. It was because people laughed at him during the day. At 2 a.m., the sound of the ball seems louder, especially to the neighbors. Once, someone called the police. "We have here," they said, "a suspicious guy who hits the ball against the asphalt with a very sad expression on his face." A police officer approached. "Son, what are you doing?" "Practicing." "For whom?" Marty thought for a moment. "For now, myself." The policeman nodded. "Not the worst plan I've heard today." At school, Marty still wasn't on the team, but everyone knew his name. "He's Airball Marty, the one who never gives up, the one who's always got the ball. He sat on the bench, even when he wasn't a player. He handed out towels, he collected balls, he clapped as if it were his final." "What are you doing here?" one player asked. "I'm part of the process," Marty replied. "Which one?" "The long one." One day, something dangerous happened. Marty hit it. Not pretty, not confident, Not without strange movements, but the ball went through the net. Silence fell. Someone said, "It was an accident." Marty said nothing. He just smiled. Because he knew. Coincidence is just practice that hasn't been noticed yet. That evening, Marty went back to the playground. The same one, the same court, the same guy. But something was different. Now, when he missed, it wasn't funny anymore. It was close. And for the first time in his life, basketball didn't laugh at Marty. It just watched and waited. Chapter 3: High School Humiliation Tour. If Act 2 was about strange training sessions, Act 3 was about public humiliation. Regular, planned, and with an audience. Marty still wasn't a team player, but he was present. When the team roster was announced, Marty's name was there. At the bottom, way down, almost on the floor. Next to it was a note, "Bench, emergency only." No one knew what exactly was considered an emergency, but everyone was sure. It would be better if it never happened. Marty celebrated. "I'm on the team," he said. "Formally," someone replied. "Formally is best," said Marty. The first games of the season were short for Marty, not in terms of time, in terms of participation. His stats looked like this: points, 0. Rebounds, 1, accidental. Fouls, 4. Collision with the referee, 1. Broken scoreboard, 1. Long story. A commentator once said, "Well, Marty's out on the court. Let's see how this turns out." It turned out noisy. By the middle of the season, Marty had become a meme. A photo of him falling. A photo of him running in the wrong direction. A photo of him applauding the opposing team. Caption: Airball Marty, MVP. Marty liked it. "We need to support the fan base," he said. No one could understand why Marty was still on the team. He didn't play. He didn't score points. He didn't even always sit properly. But he was the first at practice, the last to leave, the only one who didn't stop. When someone skipped training, Marty knew all the plays. When someone gave up, Marty picked up the ball. "He's annoying," said one player, "but he's one of us." One game was especially painful. A full house, cameras. The opponents were stronger. And the coach said, "Marty, get ready." The bench froze. "Is this a joke?" someone whispered. Marty stood up. He stretched his jersey. He went outside. The first touch, a miss. The second, a foul. The third, a fall. The crowd laughed. Marty got up. He started running. Not pretty, not fast, but steadily. He didn't score, but he got in the way. He wasn't a hero, but he was a problem. For everyone. "Doesn't he ever get tired?" someone asked. No, he just didn't stop. After the match, they lost. Badly. But the locker room was quiet. The coach looked at Marty. "You didn't mess up," he said. To Marty, it sounded like the compliment of the year. Because for the first time, his name didn't sound like a joke. It sounded like part of a team. Chapter 4: The Turning Point. It all started with news that scared everyone and no one at the same time. A new coach had arrived at the school. The old coach left quietly, without scandal, without a farewell speech. He was simply gone one day, like a poorly executed pass. The new coach was different. He didn't yell. He didn't whistle every 5 seconds. He watched. Long. Uncomfortably long. During the first training session, he didn't say anything. He just watched. The players were nervous. Marty wasn't. He was used to being looked at with suspicion. After practice, the coach called Marty over. "You," he said. Marty approached. "You know you're not the best player, right?" "Yes, sir." "Do you know that you may never be?" "Yes, sir." The coach nodded. "But you can become the hardest worker." Marty smiled. "I'm already working on it." From that day on, Marty stopped trying to be someone else. He stopped making difficult shots. He stopped trying to prove anything. He started fighting for every rebound, running first on defense, returning last. He became irritating, very irritating to his opponents. For his teammates, a little. "He's like a mosquito," said one player. "Small, but he won't let you live." Once, Marty defended so well that he accidentally stopped his own player. "Marty!" they shouted from the bench. "He's ours!" "Sorry," he shouted. "You tried too hard." The hall laughed. The coach did not. He smiled. Marty didn't score many points. Sometimes he didn't score any. But the team noticed. His opponents were getting tired. The ball came back more often. The pace was maintained. "He's keeping the game going," said the captain. Marty heard that. He pretended not to. But at home, he couldn't sleep. In the middle of the season, there was a game that no one remembered, except Marty. He came out, he made a selection, he passed the ball, and scored. The ball touched the rim, the net swayed. A point. The crowd didn't erupt, but something had changed. Someone said, "He really has gotten better." Marty said nothing. He just ran back to defense. After the game, the coach approached him. "Do you know what you're doing?" he asked. Marty thought for a moment. "I'm not giving up." The coach nodded. "Keep going." And for the first time, it didn't sound like permission. It sounded like a plan. Chapter 5. The game nobody expected. It all started as a normal day. That's why it was dangerous. Because it is on days like these, things happen nobody planned. It was the decisive game of the season. Not the final, not the championship, but a game after which you are either respected or you are forgotten. The hall was full. The opponents were strong. The tension was palpable. Marty sat on the bench, as always. And then it happened. 2 minutes before the end of the first quarter, their star player fell. It's not pretty, not heroic. Knee, pain, silence. The coach stood up. He looked at the bench, and his gaze stopped not where everyone expected. "Marty," he said. The bench held its breath. "Are you serious?" someone whispered. Marty stood up. He didn't run. He didn't jump. He just walked out. The commentator fell silent, and then he said, "Well, this should be interesting." Marty stepped onto the court. The first defense, a foul. The second was almost a foul. The third was a fall. The crowd began to laugh. Marty got up. He didn't start scoring. He started to interfere. He ran. He pushed. He grabbed Liz by the arms. His opponents got angry. "Get him out of here," someone shouted. "He's not doing anything." That wasn't true. He was doing everything. With 1 minute left in the game, the score was tied. The ball ended up with Marty. Time seemed to stand still. "Shoot!" they shouted from the bench. Marty looked at the hoop. He thought. And he passed the ball. Perfect, clean, timely. Points. The hall erupted. Next attack. The ball was back with Marty. He had no plan. He had instinct. He shot. The ball touched the rim, bounced, hovered, and fell. A point. They won. Not pretty, not confident, but they won. The team rushed onto the court. Marty stood still. He looked at the scoreboard and smiled. The locker room was noisy. Someone was shouting. Someone was laughing. The coach approached Marty. "Were you ready?" Marty thought about it. "I just didn't give up." The coach nodded. "That's enough." Chapter 6. Not a legend, a hero. After that game, life didn't turn into a fairy tale. No one from the NBA called. No one made a documentary. No one put up a banner in the gym. The next day, Marty came back to school. He sat on the bench again. Sometimes he left. Sometimes he didn't. He did not become a star. He didn't become a captain. He didn't become what he dreamed of as a child. But something changed. When Marty came out, they kept the game going. When Marty sat on the bench, they waited for him. His name was no longer a joke. "Marty, are you ready?" "Marty, keep up the pace." "Marty, good play." Simple words, but for him, they meant a lot. The season ended without trophies. No medals, no big headlines, but with a team that remembered what it was like to fight. On the last day, the coach gathered everyone together. "Not everyone will become a legend," he said. "But someone has to be the heart." He looked at Marty. Years passed. Marty never stopped playing. He stopped dreaming about anything else. He became a coach. Not a big one, not famous, but attentive. He taught children who missed, who fell, who were shy. He didn't yell. He said, "You don't have to be great. You must not give up." The children listened, because he was like them. One evening, Marty stood by the playground. The children were playing. Balls were flying. Someone missed. Marty smiled, because he knew. He never made dunks. He never became a legend. But he landed right where he was supposed to be.